You wake up at 6:30 a.m. to an alarm you didn't set out of joy, but obligation. Not because you want to, but because you have to. You're tired, not just sleepy tired, but tired in your soul, tired in your bones, tired of chasing something that never really shows up. You shuffle into the shower, you make the same coffee, eat the same breakfast, or skip it altogether. And then you drive to a place where your time becomes someone else's property. That, my friend, is not just a job. It's a slow, invisible death sentence. You clock in, but you check out emotionally. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 40 years. That's over 90,000 hours of your life given to someone else's dream, someone else's profits, someone else's control. And what do you get in return? A paycheck that barely keeps up with rent. A title that means nothing outside your office door. And worst of all, a life that keeps slipping away inch by inch while you're too exhausted to notice. You tell yourself, this is normal. Everyone does it, but just because something is common doesn't mean it's okay. Your body wasn't designed for this. The human brain wasn't built to stare at spreadsheets or blinking cursors for 8 hours straight. You weren't meant to sit for 70% of your waking life, to eat lunch at your desk while answering emails, to apologize for taking a sick day, or feeling guilty for using your legally earned vacation. This system wasn't made for your health. It was made for efficiency, for output, for control. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that this was the only way to survive. But here's the cruel irony. The very job you show up to earn a living, might be the thing that's slowly taking your life away. Studies now show over 120,000 deaths in the US each year are linked to work-related stress. Heart disease, high blood pressure, depression, all spike in high-pressure jobs. Burnout isn't a buzzword, it's a medical condition, and yet we wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor. I'm so busy, I worked 60 hours this week. I haven't taken a vacation in years, as if suffering proves we're valuable. But suffering doesn't make you successful. It makes you a slave in disguise. You weren't born just to pay bills and die, and deep down, you know this. You feel it every Sunday night. That creeping anxiety before Monday. That pit in your stomach that never really goes away. It's not just you. Millions of Americans are silently drowning in this system, too afraid to stop, too tired to question it, too invested to escape. But here's the thing, if you don't stop and examine the life you're living, who will? The 9 to 5 wasn't designed to make you happy. It was built to make you useful to someone else's machine. Let's rewind back to the early 1900s. Factories were booming. Men, women, even children packed into assembly lines. People worked 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. No breaks, no benefits, no boundaries. Then came Henry Ford. He introduced the 8-hour workday, and not out of kindness, but because tired workers made more mistakes. Shorter hours meant better efficiency. So the 9 to 5 became the humane compromise. It was revolutionary for that era. But that era is long gone. Back then, a single income could support a family. One job, one paycheck, one person working. Now, 2 incomes barely cover rent. Student debt follows you into your 40s, and we still pretend like the 9 to 5 system is normal. It's not normal, it's obsolete. Your job wants you to be productive, but not creative, efficient, but not fulfilled, punctual, but not peaceful. You get 30 minutes for lunch, but 10 years before you can retire. You get paid every 2 weeks, but your life slips by every day. The 9 to 5 model wasn't designed with your mental health, your passions, your relationships, or your well-being in mind. It was built like a factory belt. Move the product. Meet the quota. Don't question the system. And what happens if you do question it? You're lazy, you're ungrateful, you're a quitter, but maybe you're just awake. Let's be real. How many birthdays have you missed because of work? How many sunsets have you ignored from behind a cubicle window? How many times have you said, I'll rest this weekend, only to spend it recovering from the week you barely survived? This isn't living. This is maintenance mode. You weren't made for maintenance. You were made for meaning. And no, this doesn't mean you need to quit your job tomorrow. Most people can't. The bills don't stop just because your spirit is broken. But maybe, just maybe, you can stop giving your entire identity to a job title. Maybe you can stop measuring your worth in hours clocked in and start asking, what actually makes me feel alive? Because surviving isn't the same as living. And working 40 hours a week just to exist isn't the dream we were promised. Your body is trying to tell you something, but you've been trained to ignore it. That morning fatigue you brush off with coffee, that's not just being tired, that's chronic exhaustion. That pit in your stomach every Sunday night, that's work-induced anxiety. And that racing heart when your phone rings after 5 p.m., that's not normal, that's survival mode. Burnout is real. The World Health Organization officially classifies it as an occupational phenomenon, not laziness, not weakness, a medical condition, symptoms. Constant fatigue, lack of motivation, brain fog, insomnia, depression, even physical pain. And yet we push through because taking a break, that feels like failure. But here's the brutal truth. The 9-to-5 grind is killing your health in ways you can't always see. Your brain is overstimulated. Ping, Slack, email, Zoom, repeat. No time to process, no space to rest. Your creativity drained, your focus scattered, your heart working overtime, not from cardio, but from chronic stress. Long work hours are linked to a 20 to 30% increased risk of stroke and heart disease. Stress raises cortisol. Cortisol increases blood pressure, and slowly, silently, your body begins to break. Your sleep suffers. Even when you're exhausted, your mind keeps racing. Did I reply to that email? Will I miss the deadline? What if I get fired? You lie awake in the dark as your health quietly declines. And let's not forget your diet: coffee, quick carbs, skipped meals, fast food during lunch breaks, dinner eaten while replying to one last email. This isn't fuel, this is functional self-neglect. You weren't meant to live this way. You weren't meant to wake up with dread and go to bed with doubt. You weren't meant to use weekends just to feel human again. Your body is tired, your mind is worn, and your soul is quietly begging for something more. But society says, suck it up. This is adulting. Everybody feels like this. That's the lie we've normalized. You don't need a wake-up call, you're already awake, you just don't know how to stop. But if you don't listen to your body now, one day it will force you to. Through illness, through breakdown, through moments that make you wonder, how did I get here? You are not weak for needing rest. You are not broken for feeling burned out. You are not lazy for wanting more from life than just a paycheck and a place to sleep. There's something worse than being tired, worse than the stress, the headaches, the body aches. It's the quiet feeling that you've lost yourself. You used to dream, you had ideas, passions. That one thing you loved doing as a kid, you haven't touched it in years. Not because it stopped mattering, but because life got in the way. Work got in the way. Deadlines, promotions, meetings. Until one day you wake up and don't even recognize the person in the mirror. Not sad, not happy, just numb. That's the hidden cost of the 9-to-5. It doesn't just steal your time, it steals your identity. You become the role, the title, the person who's always available, the one who's great under pressure, the one who's married to the job. But what about you? Not your job, not your resume, you. When's the last time you laughed, really laughed, and didn't feel guilty afterward? When's the last time you created something, not for profit, but for joy? When did you stop painting, writing, exploring, questioning, and start settling? You see, this system doesn't want you to ask, who am I? Because if you did, you might start realizing you were never meant to just be a cog. You were meant to be human, whole, awake, free. But here's how they trap you. They give you just enough pay to keep you dependent, just enough vacation to keep you sane, just enough praise to keep you chasing, just enough fear to keep you quiet. And over time, you begin to believe this is just how it is. But what if it isn't? What if the version of you that you buried under routines, deadlines, and paychecks is still in there, waiting? What if the life you thought was gone? The dreams, the creativity, the curiosity isn't lost, just asleep? What if you're not broken, but just misaligned? There's a reason your soul feels restless. There's a reason burnout feels like grief. Because you're grieving yourself, the version of you that once believed in more, the version of you that still exists. If you dare to remember, it's not too late. You're not too far gone. You're not too old, too busy, or too stuck. The first step to reclaiming your life is admitting that the grind, the stress, the numbness is not living. It's coping, and you were made for so much more than coping. You don't need to burn everything down, you just need to wake up and take the first step back to yourself. Look, not everyone can walk into their boss's office and quit tomorrow. That's not the point. Freedom isn't always a dramatic leap. Sometimes it's a slow, steady return to who you truly are. And it starts small, not by leaving your job, but by leaving the mindset that your job is your entire worth. Because the truth is, you are not your job. You are not your inbox. You are not your KPIs, your boss's approval. or your LinkedIn headline. You're a person with dreams, desires, depth, with a soul that's been whispering, there's more than this. So here's the shift. Start by setting boundaries, or emotional ones. Stop answering emails after dinner. Take your lunch break and actually leave your desk. Give yourself permission to rest without guilt. Reconnect with what makes you feel alive. Maybe it's music, maybe it's writing, maybe it's sitting on the porch and watching the sky turn pink. You don't need to monetize it. You just need to feel human again. Talk to people, not just co-workers. Talk to people who remind you there's a world outside of deadlines. Start spending time with those who energize you, not just those who pay you. Take back your mornings, even 15 minutes before work, for journaling, meditating, breathing, can shift your entire day. Learn new things, not because your job demands it, but because your soul craves expansion. You deserve more than a paycheck. You deserve peace, purpose, joy. You deserve mornings that don't start with dread, and nights that don't end with burnout. And maybe you'll stay in your job, that's okay, but you don't have to stay in the mindset that your life belongs to it, because it doesn't. Your life belongs to you, and you are allowed to change, even slowly, even imperfectly, even one small boundary at a time. So the next time someone says, that's just how life is, you'll know better. You'll know that normal doesn't mean healthy, and existing isn't the same as living, and maybe, just maybe, you'll start listening to that quiet voice inside you, the one you buried beneath meetings and paychecks and deadlines, the one that still remembers what freedom feels like. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. You don't have to wait until retirement to feel alive again. You can start now, you can start today. The 9 to 5 might be killing you, but your awareness could be what finally saves you.